record. And all right, let's make sure. Can everybody see this okay? Wonderful.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so Eel Egret Practicum info. The remainder of our time will be covering this information, so that way you know what to expect once the class ends. For your all's cohort, it is voluntary. You don't have to participate in the practicum, but we do strongly encourage everybody to participate because it gives you some really wonderful group experience, and it's rare to find a developer job where you're just on your own and don't have to collaborate with others. So we've built in this practicum at the end of your course, so that way you can work together in small groups, and then it gives you exposure to like how to handle merge conflicts in Git or anything along those lines, how to sort of scope your project, how to divvy up work as far as who's going to address what bug fixes and what features to add and that kind of a thing. And I do have Lauren Sheridan on the call with us tonight so that she can help answer any questions as well. She's been our practicum go-to gal as far as helping structure the curriculum for it, as well as just kind of overseeing the running of it. So we'll jump into just an overview to kind of give you an idea of what it is. So each class is going to have its own practicum. Initially, our intention was to bring back-end students together, two front-end students, have the back-end students building the server-side portion of data, and then have the front-end students using those with a user interface and building a front end off of the back-end. But due to student numbers, we can't do that with your all's classes because we have few enough EEL students and an unequal ratio of front end to back end students. So it wasn't going to wind up working out this time around. So you will be in your own class practicums. EEL students will be together by themselves, and then the Egret students will be together in their own small groups. So they'll be made up of small groups of 3 to 5 students with one student lead. For EEL, the original author of the project, and this will make more sense as I cover more in detail about the final steps of your class going into the practicum, what that means. The student lead will be the original author of the project. For Egret, it'll be chosen by the small group. And you'll be divvied up into small groups based on your time availability for meeting, as well as your time zone. So that way it makes it a little bit easier for meeting together when you need to. And then you'll choose your leader from there. Every small group will have its own practicum lead mentor. The lead mentors are volunteer mentors like who you've been having in your sessions, and they'll be available to help whenever you're unable to find solutions as a group, but predominantly you'll be student-led for the practicum. So you'll be helping each other out and working very intensely with one another to be able to find solutions and research anything that you might want to add as extra features into your project or anything along those lines. You will host a weekly team meeting, and the practicum lead mentor will be a part of that team meeting to be able to observe your progress and to be able to lend any support or assistance. So if you're trying to get a merge conflict to work and it's just getting all kinds of messy, then they can step in and assist during that meeting, or you can reach out to them throughout the week so that they can help you either on your own individual features that you're working to contribute towards the project, or they can help you with getting the project built together with the merge conflict issues there. Okay. Duration, practicum starts on Monday, December 20th, and then it'll end on Friday, February 25th. So your classes up to this point have been Wednesday to Tuesday. You'll technically have from Wednesday after your class ends. So that's December 15th, I think, if I'm looking at the calendar correctly. And then it will complete like it'll start the Monday following your class ends, and it'll go Monday to Friday so it'll be more like a work schedule as far as Monday to Friday working on your projects. And then at the very end of your practicum, then you'll do demo presentations, and it'll be done on the Mondays immediately following. So February 28th, March 7th, and then March 14th if needed. And that's just to be able to present what your final project was looking like and talk a little bit about your process of who worked on what parts of it and how all of that went. We have weekly cafes at noon every Monday, and you'll be presenting during that weekly cafe. So for the EEL practicum, because of your class size, there'll only be the one group. So all of the students in your class who complete the final project on time will be together in that one group. And you can, when you're filling out your project proposals, you'll mark down whether or not you want your project to be considered as the project that everybody works on together. And then after you do your final presentations, then everybody will vote on whose final project they're interested in working with and building on for the practicum, if there is more than one. If only one of you says, I want my project considered, then that'll be the project that you all work on for the practicum. For Egret class, then it's a little bit different. We'll probably have 2 groups of 4 and 1 group of 5 in theory, but those numbers could change based on when people complete and whether or not people want to participate in the practicum. So those numbers might change. But regardless, students will be divided into small groups of 3 to 5 students based on your availability. I'll send out a form on the 29th, and I'll send out links to it not continuously, but during your Monday and Wednesday posts that I normally do to remind you to go ahead and fill out that form by December 10th to let us know when you're available. So that way I can start looking and grouping you into when people have common availabilities. So you will have the most effective overlap in time between all the members of your group. For the first week for the Egret students, then it's just initializing the app on your own and kind of like setting up your Create React app. And then you'll come together as your small group and you'll determine whose structure is the best. And they can either be the student lead on that, or you can elect a student lead among yourselves. And you'll just use that person's repo to build your project on from that point out. And then the person, oh yeah, I just covered that. Person whose app you choose will wind up building on from there. All right, so that gives us an overview. Any questions so far? Fire them at me, just unmute yourself or put them up in chat if you have any questions on the overview information so far.
Yeah, the question is that the projects for the practicum will be the different than we have now in the class. It's going to be different project, right?
Correct. Yes. Yeah. It'll be a new app that you wind up building. It won't be the same to-do list, and it won't be the hacker stories that I think the text walks you through. But it'll be using everything that you use to build those, but you'll be building something different.
Cool.
Yeah. Other questions?
Yes. In last sentence, the person whose app you choose to build on should be the student lead and etc. So person whose app, but we're not supposed to do own app, or how it's work, or we can do it if we have free time, create own app and presented it for practicum. Because
So
it's a little controversial with definition of our final project.
Right, it's different from your final project. Elliot can probably explain it better, and Elliot's been able to join us recently on this call as far as what that structure will look like. Or Lauren, I know you also have seen what the practicum curriculum looks like for the front end. Can either of you give a little bit better clarification of what's meant by what the students will be doing in that first week, which will then help them determine who's going to be the student lead for their group?
Yeah, I can take that one, Mary Alice. So the way the first week is going to work is you're going to be kind of getting into your groups, like that first bullet point says, or maybe it's not this one, but in a future slide, I think it says, you're kind of getting to know each other. You're going to be learning how to initialize an app on your own. So we want everyone to get that practice of, starting your React app, getting a database setup, which will potentially be new content for some people. So we want everybody to get that individually kind of under their belt. And then after that, you'll choose from that group of projects that you've all started, whose project you're actually going to develop as a team. Does that answer your question, Konstantin?
Yes, basically. Thank you. As I understood, it will be chosen by which idea is more perspective, or whose project made more finalized, or which parameters.
Yeah, so you'll actually choose as a team what you're going to be building. So whether you're building, an app that is similar to Twitter, where you can post tweets and things like that, or if you're making an app that it has to-do lists in it, or whatever the case may be that your group wants to build, it can really be whatever you decide. And then the project lead is really just the person who's hosting the repo where the code lives that you're all going to be working on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other
Also,
questions?
Yeah, the question about the practicum, is it the different than apprenticeship, and how it interferes with the schedule that we have for practicum with the apprenticeship opportunity after the Egret class ended, for example?
Yes, that's an excellent question. So for the timeline, we are intending to consider students who have completed the practicum for apprenticeship positions at the end of the practicum. So it would be March 2nd through March 15th. Is when we would be considering anybody who wanted to apply for the apprenticeship, and then they would get notification as far as, yes, you've been accepted, no, you haven't. If you have been accepted, what project you'll be working on with Code the Dream Labs, our development shop side of the organization. So there shouldn't be any conflict there. The only conflict would be if you've completed this, the Egret class, and then you want to take backend next, or vice versa. Instead of applying for the apprenticeship, then you can't do both simultaneously. So once you've completed the practicum, the following week is when our next cohort of advanced classes start. So you can either take the opposite class of what you are completing now, and then there will be a practicum at the end of that with an apprenticeship openings period at the end of that practicum. Does that help answer the question, Ignat?
Yeah,
I'm not sure if I was clear enough on that.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions so far?
How many hours per week you expect from us to work on this
That's a
project?
great question, Lauren. How would you say the COI class that was the back end practicum that just finished up a few weeks ago, about how many hours they were putting towards it? Was it similar to the classwork as far as it was about 15 to 20 hours a week, or do you think they spent a little more?
Yeah, so the expectation that we have is that you'll spend about 15 or 20, or similar to what you would be spending on your classes. Yeah, and I think that can be slightly flexible. If you have a team where one person is the lead and they choose to work a little bit extra and take ideas and run with them, then you might find somebody working more than others. But in general, that's the expectation for each person.
Perfect. Other questions up to this point?
Will you help us to manage our team? What if somebody leaves the team or something happens?
Sorry, I was having trouble hearing the question.
Will you help us to manage our team? What if somebody leaves the team, find a new job or something?
Yes. Yeah, you'll have a mentor. So it's a full-time developer that's a volunteer with us, just like the mentors you have in your mentor sessions. You'll have a mentor assigned to your individual small group. So that way, if you all need to turn to somebody that is an experienced developer, you will have somebody already sort of assigned to your group and your group only, that will be meeting with you during your weekly meetings. So they'll know what your process has been and what your app's all about and what you're trying to build, and can help with any issues that you run into there.
And I would also add to that I know you've been in class mode and assignment mode and handing things in mode for a while now, but with the practicum, really the goal is to get experience working on a team. I know Mary Alice has said this, but we're going to just keep reminding you that that's your end goal with all of this. So sometimes things do happen in the working world where, teams change, holidays come up, life gets in the way, whatever. So we just really want to get the experience under your belts of working on a team and navigating those challenges. So I would just keep that in mind. If you come up to a teammate gets a job, which has happened, and suddenly they can't work on the project, that's great. We want to celebrate that. And then just figure out how to redistribute their work and keep moving forward. And maybe you don't accomplish quite as much as a team as you initially set out to, but that's okay because you've got that experience.
Great. Other questions at all?
Yes, one
Yeah.
more last.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about apprenticeship after practicum, we're talking about front-end apprenticeship, or because, for example, previously I finished the back-end class and I thought about go to maybe back-end apprenticeship, or
Yeah, for the
maybe I
apprenticeship.
didn't understand something.
Oh, no, that's fine. For the apprenticeship, it'll be up to you. I don't know that we have a ton of, well, actually, John could probably speak to it more as far as what projects we have going, if there's, an even distribution of front end to back end and or full stack apprentices that are needed. And it can change as well, because we do get different projects that are signed on as time goes on, since it is just a development shop as well. So we, hire on clients at different points throughout the year. But whatever your interest is in, as far as if you want to be on a project that handles both and is, using both of those tech stacks that you're familiar with, then be sure to share that information in your apprenticeship application. If you want to focus just on one or the other, then that's fine as well.
But any apprenticeship, front end or back end, will start at March, right? As I understand, correct?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
March 2nd would be the soonest that you'd be starting in the apprenticeship role after the practicum.
Thank you.
Perfect. Other questions? Okay, so the next couple slides, it just kind of gives you a timeline to give you a good picture of what's going to happen in sequence from here through the end of your class and then through the practicum. So Eel students, I've got your information on the left in orange, and then Egret students, I have your information in white on the right here. Eel students, you have to do your final project proposals using this form. I'll be sending this in your announcements channel today before my day ends. And be sure to mark whether or not you want your project to be considered for the practicum project, so that way we can be evaluating that. The project proposal is intended for us to be able to see what your data structures are like, your data models are like, so that way we can determine if that's something that you can achieve in the 3-week window that you have to work on it. So that's why the backend students have a final project proposal that they have to submit at this point in the course. Egret students, since you've been building your projects all along, you do not submit a project proposal. So I just wanted to point out that difference, and that's what's going to be going on this week for each of those two classes. Next week, business as usual for Egret students, and just working through your lessons and your assignments. Eel students, you'll start working on your final projects next Wednesday, the 17th. Classes will have off for the week of November 24th to November 30th for the holiday. Mentors will be given the option, if they want to hold a session on a day that's not that Thursday or Friday for the actual holiday, then they can. Most might be traveling or have plans, and so they might be canceling theirs. But there might be some mentor sessions available that week if you are wanting to catch up, review any topics, talk about future topics, anything like that. So just keep an eye on that mentor session sign-up sheet for the week of the holiday. It will be posted, and there may be a session or two, but there definitely won't be the normal realm of sessions like what you're used to for that holiday week. And you will not have any new assignments that week. So you can either kick back and relax, or you can work on anything that you want to catch up on, or review anything that you want to review, or work ahead a little. If you're able to do that, then you can do that. For the week following the holiday, from December 1st to December 7th, EEL students will just continue work on their final projects. Egret students, that's when deployment of your final projects really kind of begin, and you'll work on finalizing any kind of styling structures for your to-do list applications at that point. I'll also be sending out from November 29th to December 10th that availability form that lets me know what time zone you're in, what times you're available regularly throughout the week, so I can start looking to see where we need to put people into certain groups. And then for the final week of class, December 8th to December 14th, is just working on those final projects and getting everything how you want it before submitting it. Deadline is midnight Tuesday night on the 14th of whatever your local time zone is, to be able to get your final project submitted. And So that final week of class, Monday, Tuesday, is when you'll finish and submit if you haven't already. And then let's see here. Wednesday is when we'll have final project presentation night 1 of 2 for Egret. Since there are more of you, then we need 2 nights to be able to split up those final project presentations. And then for Wednesday for Eel students, then that will be the only presentation night. If for some reason there's the majority of you that can't attend on Wednesday, then we'll have Thursday as a backup. But final project presentations will happen Wednesday, Thursday of your final, well, technically after your final week. And then Friday the 17th is when, if there are multiple options, Eel students will vote for which project they want to work on. If there's just the one, then no vote will be necessary, and you'll just work on the one that was presented as a possibility for using for your practicum project. And then for the Egret students, from Friday the 17th to Sunday the 19th is when I'll send out your group assignments, so you'll know who you'll be working with in groups. Questions about what our timeline's looking like from here to the end of class and into the very, very early stages of practicum? Good, okay. Alrighty. So timeline for the practicum portion, week 1 is going to be December 20th to December 24th, which is a holiday weekend, or sorry, a holiday weekend at the end of that week. But the first week is basically just a lot of setup. So planning your meeting times, getting to know each other, talk about what you want your app to be, meet your practicum lead mentor, so that way you can be familiar with who they are and how to reach them, that kind of information. So it's really just sort of structure setup for that first week. And then of course we run into several weeks of holiday time. For the holiday time, it will be case by case as far as what your small group decides you want to do. And it can even be individual basis too, to cover if you want to review topics from class to sort of strengthen your skills before jumping into practicum with everybody. If you want to go ahead and start working on practicum project parts, if your group has already by the end of week 1 decided who's going to build what features or things like that. Or you can just read ahead, so that way you know what your practicum structure is going to be like over that 8-week course. So it's up to you if you want to use your holidays as holidays, or if a lot of you have downtime and are free within that December 25th to January 9th timeframe, and you want to start working on it and have a little bit extra time to put towards your practicum project, that's fine. And then week 2, which is January 10th through January 14th, and then up through your final week, which is going to be February 21st to February 25th. That's when you'll be working through the practicum curriculum together with your team. If you run into any issues that seem common, like, you know, you're building your environment and somebody that has a Mac has some kind of dependency issue or conflict or anything like that, then feel free to share in the channels that we'll build. There'll be one channel for your entire class practicum for the Egret, and then for Eel, you all will be together just in one group. But so for Egret students, if there's something you want to share with the other small groups, then there will be a channel for you to be able to reach out to either ask for help or share insights when you're working through your own project. And then demos will happen 12 p.m. Eastern Standard on Monday the 28th, Monday, March 7th, plus or minus Monday, March 14th, depending on whether or not we have enough time to cover everybody's demos. And it's just a chance for you to present your final project together as a team. Questions about the timeline for the practicum? Okay, and starting December 13th, I'll send out the practicum curriculum to everyone, so that way you'll be able to see what the whole schedule is like for your full 8 weeks of practicum, to be able to see what you're going to be learning at the different weeks and sort of what the topics are and that kind of a thing. All right, so I think at that point we're just down to questions. So let me know if you have any questions at all.
For Egret class, everyone should come up with idea of new project.
You can start thinking about that now, and then in your first week, when you're in your small group together, then you'll discuss what you want your application to be, and then all of you will start building that same application together as far as like the concepts and structure of it. And then from there, you'll determine who's going to be the leader at that point. I don't know if I explained that well. Lauren might be able to explain that a little bit better than I just did.
Sorry, could you
Yes,
repeat that,
thank
Mary, or repeat the question?
Oh, the question was like if everyone should have an idea of a project, or we can skip if you don't have an idea, like good idea. Or if,
For React
No.
or for Rails?
For the React.
Egret class. For React.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the way that's going to work is you guys will just, be in a group together and kind of discuss as a team what you're going to build. So if you have an idea, that's great. But if not, your curriculum actually has a list of potential ideas in there as well.
Okay.
Perfect. Any other questions? Okay, so next steps then for EEL students, your final project proposals will be due by November 16th. Your final projects will be due by December 14th. We'll attend final project presentations on December 15th, or if all of you can't make it, then we'll switch that to the 16th. For the final project presentations, it's important that all of you attend it to be able to see what the projects are, because you'll be voting for which practicum project, if there are multiple offered, that you want to be working on as your practicum project, and that vote will be by Friday the 17th. Questions about next steps for EEL students? Good. All right. Next steps for Egret students, practicum availability form. I'll send that out starting November 29th, and I'll have that posted regularly on your Monday and Wednesday announcements. And just fill it out by December 10th to let us know what your availability is going to be like, so we can group you accordingly. Your final projects will be due by December 14th. Attend your final project presentations. Oh, that was one thing I wanted to note. For final project presentations for Egret class, you do not need to attend both nights. You will need to present on one of the 2 nights, and you'll sign up for which night you want to do. Everybody's welcome to attend both nights, so that way you can see, variants of stylings or structures, or, whatever the case may be for what your peers have done. And it's a good way to support your classmates as well, to be able to see and ask questions and compliment their work and that kind of a thing. So you're definitely welcome to attend both nights, but you're only required to present and be present for one of those 2 nights. And then you'll receive your group assignments from the 17th to the 19th for information for who you'll be working with in your practicum. All right, any other questions at all? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing. Come back to everybody. All right, well, y'all are free to go. Thank you so much for joining us. That way we could cover all of this intense information. And if you have questions that come to mind, then just message me on Slack or send me an email, whatever is easiest for you, or reach out to your mentors and I can communicate any additional information to them, or whatever's easiest for you. Just let me know if you have any questions about the process.